What is up, guys? My name is Lex. It's day number 2 here in Austin, Texas, playing at the Lodge. Day number 1 did not go our way, losing over $4,700, but today I relaxed in the morning. I went to the gym, went on a run through downtown Round Rock, Texas. It's now 10 p.m. We're ready to play. Let's get started. Within the first orbit of the day, I pick up Ace Queen of Hearts under the gun, raised to $25. Everybody folds to the big blind. Who folds, we take down the blinds. Just about 24 hours before this, I lost over an $8,000 pot with Queen Jack offsuit versus Kings on a Queen High board. I'm really trying to adjust to these games. They're playing a little bit tighter than normal Texas poker, so I'm going to try to play my best here and not pay people off when they show a ton of strength. In this hand, I raised pocket eights to $25 in the hijack. The small blind 3-bets me to $100. Given the fact that we're $2,000 deep, I think it's a fine call here in position. So we go heads up to the flop of 4, 5, 6, 2 hearts. We flop an overpair and a gut shot straight draw. Any 7 will give us a straight. The small blind continues on this board for $75. Now, on this particular board, 4, 5, 6, 2 hearts, he's really not going to have too many strong hands. If he's 3-betting a strong range of big pocket pairs, big suited Broadway cards like King Jack suited, King Queen suited, Ace King suited, Ace Queen suited, the best hand he can really have on this board is a flush draw or just one pair hand. I consider raising, but I decided to just make the call, keep all of his bluffs in. The turn is a 7 of hearts, now giving us a straight. My opponent looks back at his cards and then checks over to me. I do think he's going to be checking here with basically everything he has. He can have pocket aces, pocket kings. He could have ace queen, ace king with a heart. So I decided to size up here, $275, thinking if he does have those big overpairs with a heart draw or just ace high or king high with a heart draw, he's going to have to see the river. So I make it $275 here, trying to get called by a worse hand. My opponent doesn't fold just yet, which is good news for me, which means we should be getting some action here with a call. I'm hoping he'll call here with his big overpair, so the river will be a brick, and I can value bet, but that doesn't happen. He goes into the tank for about 20 seconds and decides to put in a check raise to $675. This check raise by my opponent really took me by surprise. I thought he was contemplating either a call or a fold, so when he check raises here to $675, he's saying he has a big flush like ace x of hearts, king x of hearts, or a bluff, but there's really not too many bluffs he can have. I guess he could be turning pocket aces with ace of hearts into a bluff, but that seems a little unlikely. Maybe a hand like ace queen or ace king with a heart into a bluff. We have a straight, so we block him from having 8-9 for a bigger straight. I just don't think he's ever doing this with an overpair or even a set. He's saying he has a flush or basically nothing at all. What was going through my mind at the time is that this would be a suicide bluff if he is bluffing here, just because I can have a flush, I can have a straight, I can have a set, and basically all those hands really aren't folding at all. So for him to be bluffing here, he has to basically be putting me on a 1-pair hand or maybe a 2-pair hand, and he has a blocker like ace of hearts or king of hearts. There's just not many bluffs, and there's a lot more value hands he can have. So after tanking for over a minute, knowing that these games are a lot tighter than they used to be, people aren't really bluffing off their entire stack. They're usually just waiting for big hands and betting strong with them. I decide to make a hero fold here with a straight. I fold my pocket eights.
I'd love to see a bluff. Nice. Good hand.
This right here, ladies and gentlemen, is the definition of getting schooled by your opponent. He shows me ace of clubs, queen of hearts for the queen high semi-bluff flush draw here. He got us to fold a straight, and I just don't even know what to say anymore. I just keep making the wrong decisions. I call when they have it, and I fold when they're bluffing. Super frustrating. My opponent was basically just trying to give me the money, and all I had to do was make the call. In my session previous to this, I called down a huge river bet with 1 pair. I was wrong, losing over an $8,000 pot, and I really think it was in my head on this session. I was really trying to tell myself, don't call down super light. These people aren't bluffing, and it really cost me in this hand, making a tight fold. We then get called for a 5, 10, 25 game. I buy in for a little over $5,000. This game is big. Let's try to get some of our money back. With blinds at 5, 10, 25, I'm in the cutoff with pocket sixes. I raised to $50. Button makes to call, small blind folds, big blind folds, under the gun, straddler makes to call. We see a flop of 5, 6, 7, 2 hearts. We make middle set. All right, that is what I'm talking about. A little bit of run good here. When it checks to me, I bet $85. Button folds, but the under the gun player makes the call. The turn card is a bad one. It's a 9, so now any 8 makes a straight. My opponent checks over to me. I think sometimes I can bet here and sometimes I can check, and this time I decide to check back. And the river card is another terrible card. It's an 8, so now our set is downgraded. We're playing the straight on the board, and it gets even worse when my opponent in the under the gun position leads out for $500. Flopping a set, the board runs out as a straight and your opponent bets 2x pot on the river. If we make the call here, we're only going to be chopping at best and we're going to be losing a lot of the time. He can have 10x hands like 10x of hearts, 9-10, even jack 10 as well sometimes. So given the fact that I have to call over a 2x pot size bet just to chop, I decided to let this one go. So far, this trip has been extremely frustrating. Yesterday, I lost almost $5,000. I came in today hoping to run better and play better. I folded a straight when my opponent was bluffing. Now we flopped a set. The board runs out as a straight, and we have to fold our hand again. Very frustrating session so far. We're down almost $500. Next hand, I have king-queen offsuit on the button. Under the gun opens. I think we have 3 options here. We can fold versus a tight player. We can 3-bet versus a loose player. And we can call versus an unknown player. And given the fact that I don't have any history on the under the gun player, I decide to call. Small blind calls. We go 4 ways to a king-high flop. All clubs. Initial raiser continues for $140. Middle position player calls $140. Poker is a very tough game mentally. I find myself developing a losing mentality here in my head. After losing a couple days in a row, making the wrong decisions, making the wrong calls, making the wrong folds, I just always feel like I'm going to lose the next hand. And this hand, I feel like I'm just behind here. Under the gun bets into 3 people. Middle position player calls. I could be losing to aces, better kings, flushes. But I think just folding a top pair on the flop is a little too tight. So I reluctantly call $140. We're going 3 ways to the turn, which is another club. Now 4 clubs on the board. Our hand is now downgraded. Any club will beat us. When it checks to me, I decide to check this one back. The river is another club. Under the gun checks. Middle position player goes all in. We make the snap fold. Under the gun calls, and middle position player had the ace-high flush. We lose another pot. My goal is just to try to win a hand, get some positive momentum going my way. So when it folds to me with ace-king offsuit, let's raise it up. I make it $50. Big blind calls. Under the gun, it makes the call 3 ways to a 9-4 deuce rainbow board. The action checks to me. It's a great board for me to c-bet. I put out a bet of $105. My opponents didn't 3-bet pre-flop, so we can assume they don't have big overpairs like jacks, queens, kings, and aces. They really shouldn't have any 2 pairs on this 9-4 deuce board either, so I would like to try to just get this c-bet through, but it's not going to happen. Big blind makes the call, and then under the gun puts in a check raise to almost $400 with ace high here, no draw. I just got to let this one go, and we lose another hand. A new player sits down at the table in seat number 3. I recognize him from the Lodge live streams. He goes by the name of McLovin. I watched him play on the 25-50-100 game, and he seems to be quite some big action. He was pulling some big bluffs, making some big hands, and making some crazy plays on the live stream. So when I make it $60 with ace-5 of spades, and he 3-bets me in the small blind to $250, I make the call. We're about $5,000 deep. We go heads up to the flop. We make middle pair on 9-5-4 2 diamonds, and McLovin decides to check over to me. I think it's a close spot between betting here or checking. We can bet to deny equity from his overcards, but if I bet here and he puts in a check raise, I really won't know what to do here with my 5, so I decide to check this one back with my second pair. The turn is a 6. It doesn't help us at all, but really shouldn't help McLovin either. I would expect him to be 3-betting pre-flop with big overpairs, big Broadway cards, big ace-high hands. So when he continues now for $400 on the turn, after checking the flop, his hand really doesn't make too much sense. The hand doesn't make sense because I would expect him to 3-bet pre-flop with big overpairs and then c-bet this flop. So when he checks and I check back, he may sense some weakness from me, and now he's trying to bluff me off my smaller pocket pairs with hands like king high, queen high, or ace high. So I can't fold just yet. I make the call for $400, still heads up to the river, which is a 10. And now McLovin continues for $675. Another tough spot here in Texas. I made the wrong decision now twice in big pots. I called and my opponent had it. I folded a straight and my opponent was bluffing me, so I'm really trying not to make the wrong decision here. This situation is very player dependent. Let's say it was a tight older man who really never gets out of line. I could just snap fold my 5, but against this particular player who I've seen personally get out of line and bluff on live streams and is capable putting in big bluffs, I think we're going to have to call down a little bit lighter. Given the fact that I check back the flop, he could think I'm weak. Sensing weakness from me, he could try to blast off on the turn and river. He also checked the flop, which I don't expect him to be doing with any big overpairs. I would expect him to be c-betting his aces, kings, queens, and jacks on this 9-high board. So this hand doesn't make too much sense. He's repping a super narrow range of, I guess, pocket 9s for a set, or maybe aces that he checked over to me. I gotta make a stand somehow. I can't get run over by these Texas players all the time. So after a while of thinking, I decided to put in the call with my 5, hoping to see a bluff, and he shows us pocket kings. No bluff this time, and again, we make the wrong decision. It cost us a lot of money, and it's all going in the opposite direction. At this point in my session, I'm probably the most frustrated I've been in poker for a very long time. I came all the way here to Texas. I spent money on planes, Ubers, hotels, and I'm just getting completely crushed, down almost $6,000 or $7,000. I continue to make the wrong decision over and over again, and it's really, really irritating me. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if I'm just getting outplayed, if I'm running bad or playing bad, or maybe it's just a combination of all three. I end up adding on to my stack for $5,000, hoping to get into a big pot and maybe we can get some of our money back on this trip. Trying to shake off the tilt and maybe win a hand here. Middle position player opens up to $55. I have king queen offsuit on the button. I decided to go with a 3-bet bluff here to $175. Looking to take down this money pre-flop or go heads up in position. Now the action is over on the small blind player who has been very passive the entire time, and he puts in a cold 4-bet to $400. This particular player had been calling a lot of raises, limping a lot, and really not raising himself. So when he puts in a cold 4-bet in the small blind, I feel like it's basically only aces and kings. Against this sizing, against this player, with only about $2,000 left in his stack, I just frustratingly fold my hand, and I am officially on monster monkey tilt. I've been in Texas now for 2 days and I'm getting completely crushed, down almost $7,000 after looking over at this lineup at this 1025 game. Basically every single player looks like a professional. I'm getting crushed on this table. I don't think I can actually hang. I think table selection is very important, so I look over at the 2-5 games, which don't look too good, but then I see a 1-3 no limit game where everybody has over $1,000 to $2,000 in their stack. So I decide to drop back down, bite my ego, playing a smaller game, which looks like there's more action, more recreational players, and hopefully we can start running good, playing good, and maybe get some of our money back. I do think in poker it's very important to be honest with yourself, and at that 1025 game, I just don't feel like I had an edge over that many opponents, and I don't think it's good to be playing in a game where you're one of the worst players. So we drop back down to 1-3, buying for $1,000. Let's see how this goes. We literally get right into the action. First hand here, I have pocket kings. Sorry you guys can't see it on my camera. Apparently it missed it. I have king of diamonds, king of hearts. I straddle under the gun for $6. There's a raise to $25. Button call for $25, and now the small blind with about $1,500 in his stack, 3 bets to $150. The action's over on me. I started the hand with $1,000. With pocket kings here, I'm not going to fold. I'm not going to call. I'm going to be putting in the cold 4-bet. I re-raised to $325. I decided not to go too big with my 4-bet sizing, just $325, basically a min-raise here. I want to go smaller to allow my opponent to call with worse hands like jacks, queens, ace, king, and maybe he'll think I'm bluffing here with this sizing and just rip his whole stack in there. Under the gun folds, button folds, action now over on the small blind, who decides to 5-bet jam for $1,500. Facing a 5-bet jam with pocket kings, we could be up against pocket aces, but there is just no way I'm ever folding pocket kings here. I swear to God, if this guy shows me aces and we get stacked our very first hand, I'm going to flip over this freaking table and head back to Florida. We're all in, running it twice here with pocket kings. Let's see if we can win a big pot. I put my opponent on aces, queens, and jacks, so when the board comes out queen, jack high on the first board, it's pretty terrible. The second board comes out queen high, so now we're losing to queens twice if he does have that hand. The river's an 8, and he shows us ace king for ace high, and finally, after 2 long days of losing and losing, we're getting to a good spot. We win over a $2,000 pot. Pocket kings versus ace king.
Yeah.
A very lucky spot to be in, doubling up my very first hand over a $2,000 stack now. It's around 2 a.m. The table looks great. A ton of money, a lot of action. Maybe this will be the table we can get our money back on. We decide to play with a $6 mandatory straddle under the gun. There is now an open to $25 with ace 10 offsuit on the button. I call $25. Small blind calls $25, and under the gun, straddler makes a call as well. We see a great flop for ace 10 when it comes out 10, 10, 6. We flop trips. When the action checks over to me, I bet $50. Small blind player folds very quickly. Under the gun straddler calls $50, and now the initial raiser calls $50 as well. The turn is a juicy one. It's the 8 of diamonds, now bringing in 2 flush draws. My opponents can have straight draws, flush draws, weaker 10s. So when it checks to me again, I'm going to size up here. I make it $110. Under the gun very quickly calls $110, and now the hijack player makes to fold. We're now heads up, and this is when the hand gets pretty weird. The dealer puts out the river, which is the jack of diamonds. The backdoor diamond draw gets there, some straights get there, and now we're losing to jack 10 as well. And my opponent in the under the gun position, who check called my bets, decides to lead out now quickly for $100. At first, I just hate this bet. I feel like he's going to have a flush here or a straight here a ton of the time, but if he did have those hands, I actually think he would be betting bigger. I actually feel like this is a blocker bet with a hand like jack x of clubs. He doesn't want to face a bigger bet on the river, so he's going to lead out for a small bet of $100, hoping I'll just call and he doesn't have to face a big bet. So now I'm thinking in my head, should I call or raise? Should I call or raise? Should I call or raise? I don't really know what to do. What sizing should I go? And eventually I decide I'm going to put in a raise, but then something very weird happens.
Call, raise. Sorry. I meant to raise, I'm sorry. I know.
Is it call or raise or what?
I meant to raise, but I did say but I don't know.
Wasn't it complete? 200.
I decided in my head I was going to raise to $200, but when I put my chips out there, I said call first, and then I said raise really quickly. I have no idea why I said call. I think it was because in my head, I was thinking, should I call or raise? Should I call or raise? So when I said raise, I said call first. I've never had this happen before where I say call when I meant to say raise. I did put out 200 chips and immediately I corrected the dealer and corrected myself that I meant raise. So I don't think that I got anything out of my opponent. I just feel bad because I'm pretty sure I have the best hand and it's just a little unfortunate. It is 3:15 a.m. so maybe my mind just isn't quite working right. I don't know. I don't really know how to explain this. I feel bad. He ends up making the call. I show the ace 10, and we end up taking down this pot.
I did not try to angle you at all. Sorry.
I don't think by saying call raise and putting out $200 really affected my opponent's decision. I don't really know what happened, and I can't really explain it other than the fact that it's 3:15 a.m. I'm in a new poker room. I'm pretty tired and exhausted. And I guess I'm just not thinking 100% clearly. I ended up apologizing to this guy afterwards, and he said, no hard feelings, no problem. So I feel a little bit better about that. The good news is that we've only been at this table for about an hour, and we're already up over $1,500. This has been a great table for 1-3. It's definitely not playing like a 1-3 game. I have pocket 8s now. I make it $20. I get 4 callers, so 5 ways to the flop. I end up checking this jack high flop through, and we see a great turn card. It's the 8 of hearts giving us a set. I'm in middle position. The early position players check over to me. I bet out $55 here, and now the cutoff raises me to $175. The cutoff player had been playing very solid. It didn't seem like he was getting out of line. Seemed like one of the better players at the table, so when he raises me here to $175, on this board, I actually feel like our pocket 8s are behind. We're losing 2 flushes. We're losing to 4-5 for a straight, 9-10 for a straight, 9-5 for a straight. I'm going to call here, but I'm pretty sure we're behind. I think we need the board to pair. When you play multi-way pots, it's very unlikely that your opponents are bluffing, because if he's trying to bluff me here with a $175 raise, he has to get the button to fold, the small blind to fold, and the under the gun player to fold, and me to fold, so it would be a crazy ambitious bluff if he was bluffing. So we thought this 8 of hearts on the turn was good for us, but it turns out it's probably bad for us. I'm putting him on a flush or a straight. We're looking to boat up on the river, and of course we do not. I check over to him, he puts out a large bet of $350, and I fold my pocket 8s. Pretty frustrating session so far. We had to fold a set of 6s, now folding pocket 8s. We made a bad fold with pocket 8s with a straight earlier, and then we made a bad call with ace 5 of spades earlier. We're still up about $1,000, moving into the last hand of the night. The under the gun player puts on a $12 straddle. I'm in the under the gun +1 position with a premium hand, ace king of diamonds. I raise it up right away to $25. Next to act player makes a call, button makes a call, and now the straddle puts in a raise, a 3-bet, a big one, to $210. So a little info on the under the gun player. I played with him before in Dallas and then now here in Austin a couple times. He's one of these guys who is actually fake action. He looks like he could be an action player, raising a lot and playing a lot of hands because of what he's wearing, his jewelry and sunglasses, but in reality, he's actually a very tight player. I've been at this table for over 2 hours and he has not played a hand in over 2 hours. So when he re-raises me to $210, we're about $2,000 deep. With ace king of diamonds in position, I decided to just make the call.
I forced myself to call to 25.
He's got this shit on camera. This is just worth it.
I need a big pot.
Worth anything.
I'd like a big one. That'd be nice.
How big you want to get?
The action's on you. I can't say.
Well, it turns up. How many do you want to get?
I can't say.
It's between us.
I don't know if you hit the board or not.
I mean, I got a hand either way.
Don't tell me what you got.
No, I'm not going to tell you. I'm just saying that it's just me and you. We can talk, you know? How big do you want to get?
Whatever you want.
I mean, it don't matter to me.
Is that Rolex? Yeah?
No,
You got the camera on or what?
It's a Jubilee bracelet common on Rolexes.
Yeah, Rolex.
You
Yeah,
want
I have
to
Rolex.
How much you betting there?
I'm not going to do
I
any
love watching.
deals, but
Me too.
Yeah, I'll check.
okay. I'll check too.
When the flop came out, my opponent in the under the gun position, who re-raised me pre-flop, asked me if I wanted to play a big pot or a small pot, if I wanted to check it down, and I told him I just want to play poker, but I'm not really sure what to take away from this speech play. I'm not sure if he's trying to get me to bluff because he hit top set or he's got a huge hand, or if he's got a weak hand and he's trying to get me to check behind. I end up checking back the flop and we see the 10 of diamonds on the turn, one of the best cards in the deck. Now we have a straight draw and a flush draw and 2 overcards, but for some reason I just felt like my opponent was trapping. He checks over to me again on this turn card and I consider betting here as a bluff, but I would hate to get check raised by a hand like pocket 10s or pocket jacks. I decide in position I'm just going to take the free card, try to get there, or maybe we have the same hand and we're just going to chop. The river is a disgusting 7 of spades. We completely miss all of our outs. No ace, no king, no straight, no flush. My opponent bets out huge here for $300. Maybe he's doing this with a bluff, but he probably has us beat. Given the fact that this player type has not got out of line the entire time, he seems like a really tight player and somewhat scared money as well. I let my ace high go. He shows me pocket 10s for a set on the turn, so I'm glad I checked back the turn and got a free card. He was definitely planning on check raising huge there. Alright guys, that is it for this one. Another session here at the lodge. We're back by the live stream table here. Pretty cool setup they have. Whoa, almost just fell. So, another rough day, to be honest. I'm just always making the wrong decision. For some reason here, I just can't make the right decision. Yesterday I ended up losing a massive pot, calling down queen jack offsuit to pocket kings. Yeah, he had pocket kings yesterday. Ended up losing like $4,700 yesterday. I came in today thinking, okay, I'm not going to pay these guys off. They always have it. They're never bluffing. So I called to raise the pocket 8s. I turned a straight. I bet. My opponent check raised me and I make a super tight fold with a straight, putting him on a flush, and he shows me a bluff. So we make the wrong decision there. Go over to the 5-10-25 game. End up calling down with ace 5 on a 9-5-10 board. 3-bet pot, ended up losing like over $1,000 there. Of course, another wrong decision. I just could not take the 5, 10, 25 anymore. For some reason, there was just no action. Nobody losing money except for me. I guess I'm just one of the worst players at the table. I don't know. Nobody getting out of line. Nobody putting any 3-bet bluffs in. Every time I 3-bet, I got 4-bet. Every time I raised, I got 3-bet. I couldn't win a hand over there. So I decided to drop back down to 1-3. Looked like some good action. Everybody had $1,000 to $2,000, and boom, right away doubled up with pocket kings versus ace king. So that was nice. Got a little bit of money back there. But after that, just kind of a slow go. Had to fold a set of 8s. Had ace king of diamonds and a big 3-bet pot. Missed a straight flush draw as well. Ended up losing $2,400 in this session. So $4,700 loss yesterday. $2,400 loss today. Not playing my best, making the wrong decisions. Really, the money doesn't really matter that much to me. What really matters is my decision making, and I'm not making the right decisions. I'm not making the right calls. I'm not making the right folds, and it's costing me a lot of money. Got to get better. Got to try to improve. Got to try to learn from my mistakes and hopefully get better here. But so far things have been going pretty smooth since I went back to Florida. I had a huge month in February, if you guys remember, like a $40,000 upswing in Dallas. Then I went back to Florida March and April, and I think I had an 8K month and a 10K month or something. So very smooth sailing, nice and easy poker. So this is gonna happen. Sometimes you're gonna run cold. Sometimes you're not gonna connect with any boards. You're gonna have to fold sets. You're gonna get coolered. You're gonna get bad beat. You're gonna make bad decisions, and that's this time right now. Ended up losing, I guess, like almost $8,000 in the last 2 days, but we're here another 3 days. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you like this little Texas road trip. If you did, hit that like button, comment down below, and subscribe to the channel. And until next time, I'll see you.